Now we're going to finish on this bit of news, and happily, it's very, very good news indeed. Chris Bey is now walking, sometimes unaided. I mean, generally, he's still struggling, of course, with mobility. He's still in recovery, but it's almost miraculous, given the percentage he was given that basically he was probably going to be quadriplegic or paraplegic, or whatever, for the rest of his life. It was something like 10 to 25% he was offered. And he's essentially beat those odds, quite frankly, and his recovery is coming along very, very well for somebody who had such a devastating injury. TNA wrestler Chris Bey on October 27th, 2024 was wrestling in a tag team match with Ace Austin against tag team champions the Hardy Boys. Now, this is from Chris's own mouth on Chris Van Vliet show. Here's what happened. So, quote, "First time we wrestled the Hardys, we didn't have a lot of time. This time we had more time, so we were all confident and comfortable with what we were doing. I'm in there with my best friend and two of my idols. It's a night off, essentially." And then I'm going to skip away a couple of sentences. "As soon as it goes wrong, you don't notice what's wrong. You just know something isn't right. I felt a jolt. It was a neck breaker. We missed each other, Matt and I, by an inch. I felt a jolt, and I felt a little bit of discomfort." From there, Jeff Hardy, through miscommunication, almost lands a swanton bomb on him, but then realizes that something's wrong, and he basically drops a leg instead, misses him by a mile. I mean, there's always, the risk of the ring bouncing as well afterwards, which is a risky thing. But at this point, Chris can't move his toes, he can't raise his arm, and he's been essentially paralyzed. He was rushed to a Detroit hospital where Chris underwent neck and spinal fusion surgery and was given very low odds of making any kind of realistic recovery, which he's happily beaten.
Yeah, this is the best way to end any episode. I get a little emotional thinking about this, and I have been in communication with Chris off and on since this. This is definitely near and dear to my fear, from the guardrail incident, and this is way, way worse, way, way worse. And miracles do happen, and these are some of the conversations that I personally have with Chris from time to time, either via text or phone, that miracles do happen, and be a miracle, Chris. Don't listen to anybody that's going to tell you anything. I don't think anybody told him anything negative about recovery, amount of recovery time. Obviously, it's not a week or a month or maybe even a year before whatever percentage of his ability, forgive me, like I said, I get emotional about it. Nobody knows what percentage, but one thing we do know at this point, the percentage is going up. The percentage is going up because what was the percentage, like 10% or a very low percent, that he was going to ever be able to walk again, much less do anything functionally with his body. And this is what really from last week with Moxley, and I'm not trying to lump it in with that, I'm just giving it as an example. This is why we do the show that we do. This is why I did the Wrestling Analysis channel. This is why I try to speak from a position of compassion and, what else should I say, cautionary tales of things in the past that I was involved with. And something as little as this was probably nowhere near, I'm not sure the exact spot. This is nowhere near as dangerous or risky as anything else that Chris Bey or other people have ever done, especially Chris being an amazingly gifted athlete to be able to do really special stuff. The weirdest injuries occur on the most harmless looking type thing. And I'm only guessing that it was nothing like a big spot that did it. But the focus is on Chris. The focus is on Chris's road to recovery. The focus is on the miracle that Chris is living every day and going in that direction. And there's something you said in the notes here that he's not ruled out a potential return to wrestling. Now, I know we're all gasping right now at the mere thought of him getting back in a ring at any point in his life. But I want to say this. I would rather Chris aim for the stars and just come in a little short of those. In other words, to get himself back into a point where he doesn't need a walker, a cane, assistance. He's working out. He's got full feeling back, or mostly full feeling back in all extremities and his spine. And he's able to almost kind of, not forget, but move so far past it that it's surreal that it even happened. If he aims for just, all I want to do is be able to walk with a walker. Well, that's all you're going to be able to do. Being able to aim to say, I'm going to return to the ring and have a match, and I'm going to return to the ring without any assistance and climb through those ropes and do a spot. If you come up short and you have a very 100% viable, functioning life, then you achieved everything. But if you don't aim that far and even come up a little bit short, then you're always going to, I guess, limit what you do in your road to recovery. And I'm near tears of joy because this is a good kid and a good human being, not just a great wrestler, not just a great athlete, but a guy that I've gotten to know him for a very short amount of time after this and know that he has a great heart. And hopefully what he learned in the business, if he still has the itch to be involved, I would say, Chris, commentary, writing, creative, talent relations, maybe, just maybe, picking up the mantle from a more active role and responsibility to protect other talent as much as possible. So if your mission statement, Chris, is to still be involved in wrestling, aim for having a match. But I believe your calling right now is to be that person that can, right in front of somebody's face, be the voice of reason and speak from experience to prevent this from ever happening again to another human being. I love you, man. I love you, Chris. And I think you can be an inspiration in so many different ways in and out of professional wrestling. And do not throw away that opportunity. And I know you won't, because you already spoken about doing it.
With Chris, once again, when you said, potential return to wrestling, because once again, I was talking about this with Dutch yesterday. I was like, a sharp intake of breath. But I wonder if he ever did have another match. I mean, you probably know this as well because you've had your own neck injuries. I mean, is it tough to? I don't want to say self-conscious, but is it tough to stop second-guessing things that you do in the ring once you've had a really bad injury like that can almost, cause like you before? I know it's a completely different thing, but what went wrong when you dived over the rope to do a dive and then you didn't because you second-guessed it. It can sort of affect your performance in that way.
Oh, absolutely. You have to be completely unaware of the things that have actually happened in your life and career when you get in the ring. If you're thinking, it's like football. If you're thinking and overthinking and trying to be careful, you usually get hurt. That's usually when you do a half-pregnant back bump, Like Chris, like I'd be concerned with taking a bump right now, and therefore I shouldn't take a bump unless I'm all in and I know that I can last, and freak injuries happen. That's the thing. This show and what I've done previous to this and what we're doing now, this adds to the overthinking. It works here because I need to overthink and overanalyze to break stuff down. But when I get into a ring as a competitive, active wrestler, I'm invincible. And if I get hurt, doesn't matter. Finish the match. Doesn't matter. That's got to be the attitude. And good, bad, or indifferent, that has to be a better attitude for Chris, that he can never get hurt again. Because if he says, what if I get hurt again? Don't get back in the ring. That's the worst idea. But I think it's more of, like I said, a psychological thing to mind F himself in a positive way to get as far as he can on the road to recovery. And whatever he gets, that's going to be awesome. Which it's already, like I said, even just a few months after this injury, to be improving. Usually I've heard that in the first 2 to 4 weeks, that is the cap for how much is going to come back. But he's proven that wrong.
Now, because you've not seen this yet, I said I was going to show you this at the end. So I'm going to share the screen, and this is from Chris Bey Benefit Show by FCW. Just, I think, a couple of days ago, in fact. So we just do bear with me. I'm going to leave this in the show while we do it. And here we go. I've got the audio really down at the moment, but this is Chris Bey coming out, basically getting his flowers, I guess, for the benefit show and making everybody happy as well. I'll forward through a tiny bit.
That's amazing. My God.
I believe he gets in the ring later as well in this video, so I'll forward it through a little bit. And he does make, I believe, he takes some steps unaided as well in the ring.
Oh my God. I kind of wish I saw it before now. He got through the ropes easier than I did when I did Devon's videos.
There we go. And he cuts an interview afterwards as well. So,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I should have showed you that beforehand.
That's okay. No, I mean, that's,
yeah.
You know, they want reaction videos. That's I don't mind reacting to that stuff like this. I just, seeing that guy, man, that's something. Yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. You know, we all have this thing in us where there's that fear. Is this going to be it or whatever? And he must have thought his life at one point was completely over, probably many points. And just seeing that, I mean, this is a guy that pretty much, like I said, had almost, you know, a very low percentage chance of walking again. And here he is walking down steps, standing up straight on a stage without any assistance, walking on his own, under his own power, down steps, down an aisleway, things we could take it for granted. All of us take for granted. Then, you know, his arm strength must have been weak and everything. You know, I don't know the extent of the paralysis. Grabs the post, walks up there, goes through the ropes, stand in an unstable ring that moves and kind of flows like waves. And there he is. Sorry.
Yes. No, please don't be.
Great stuff.
There's one more thing, I guess, I wanted to ask, and it's a very serious thing, because you'll have shared this because you've broken your neck. You'll know the fear that very few people hopefully ever go through, but you'll know the fear of that Chris went through, where you can't move your extremities, your neck's been broken, and that immediate thing of what is next. How do I react? I can't do basic, because I believe Chris also said, I don't know if I've written this down here, he was trying to, as a joke or something like that, to raise his arm when he was being stretched out to let people know he was okay, or something like that for the Hardys, but he couldn't do it, and that's when, you know, the fear really kicked in for him. With you, when did the feeling start coming back in, you know, your fingers? You could start moving stuff again and start feeling like halfway normal after your neck issues.
Well, you're referring to the guardrail spot with Terry Funk,
yes.
Correct?
I am, yeah.
I'm still trying to gather. I'm sorry. It took an hour, about a good hour, for me to get feeling back in my legs. I did have most in my arms, but my legs, they call it transient quadriplegia. Now, I did have pins and needles in my arms, but I could move my fingers. Legs were a no-go until pretty much I got to the hospital. So I was in the ring for a while. Maybe towards the end of that time, I started to feel like I could at least wiggle a toe or two. But when I was actually legitimately in the hospital getting worked on, that's when I kind of felt. And then it was the pain, the burning. Well, the burning happened once the guardrail hit me, I should say. Then nothing. Tears, fear, all that stuff, not knowing. There was no joking around. I was like, this is the end of my life. I can't move. I don't have any money. I don't have any future. I don't have really any skills at this point that can carry me outside of wrestling. I don't have a feeling in my life. It's all going through your mind. So, you know, my thing at least was explainable. There's a guardrail dropped on the base of your neck. Chris's injury could happen to anybody at any time if one little bump goes wrong. So I don't tell wrestlers to fear, but I do tell them, prepare, be aware, be educated, and have a backup plan. Have a backup plan. That means save, invest your money, live well beneath your means, do whatever you can. And guess what happens? If you never had an injury, if you're like The Miz, maybe one injury in his career, if you're blessed enough to have that, and you still saved, invest, and you were really careful and you were aware, God, I got to prepare like whatever financial burden I'm going to be on my family, my wife, my kids, whatever it might be. I need to make sure everything's good to make it at least not any more stressful when I'm going to make it by having this condition. If that doesn't happen, that's great. But you should always never assume that you're going to come out of this business as much as what you went into it. We all come out of it less.
To echo your sentiments, I guess, to finish off the show, Chris Bey, please get, even more better than you already are. I mean, you've already sort of like, broke the expectations of, most of the doctors and everything like that, and most people who, know the extent of the injury, and, best of luck to you in your continued recovery. I know Stevie's going to text you pretty much as soon as we're done recording this as well, and, give you a hearty congratulations and continue your recovery.
Actually, I'm going to tell him how much heat he has with me right now, because he made me cry during the show. That's what I mean. Hey, I challenge
for a good reason, if nothing else.
Yeah, I challenge you though, Chris. Here's some psychology. Yes, I dare you. You're not going to be able to wrestle again. You're not going to be able to wrestle again. There's no way, no how. It would take a miracle for you to get that far in your road to recovery. So I challenge you to do it. I dare you to do it. And I also know and believe you can do it. But I don't want you to wrestle again. Stop it. Yeah. Yeah.